of small business. 75% of small businesses surveyed by the Chamber of Commerce said that because of Obamacare, they're less likely to hire people. That's one reason we're going to repeal it and replace it with real reform. Now, I'm confident that America is going to overcome the challenges we have. I know we face real challenges at home with so many people out of work, and with schools that are not performing as they should, with deficits and people spending our government spending massively more than we take in every year. We've got real challenges. Got challenges around the world as Iran keeps getting closer and closer to a nuclear status. And with all those challenges, some people get a little discouraged. I'm optimistic. I've seen the American people facing tough times. We're a people that lives for something bigger than ourselves. I was at the Republican convention not terribly long ago, and I met Jane Horton there. Jane's husband, a sharpshooter in Afghanistan. On the day she was packing a package to go over him for his birthday, she got a knock at the door and was told that he had been killed there. And instead of falling into despair and depression, she went to work to try and help other families who've lost loved ones in these conflicts. And on the day of the funeral, her husband's service, some of these misguided souls that were protesting America's military came to the service where her husband was going to be interred. And she was asked what she thought about those people protesting at his funeral. And she said this. She said, Chris died for them to be able to protest. This says something about the character of the American heart and our great people. I learned something about this throughout my life, about the great qualities of the human spirit that you see demonstrated in the American heart. I had the chance some years ago. I was working with the Boy Scouts, and we had a Court of Honor. Some of you know what that is. It's where the young men get their Eagle Scouts and got some Scouters here and other awards. It was a long Formica table, and I was seated at the end of it next to the American flag. And the guy who was giving the speech was a guy who was a Scoutmaster from Monument, Colorado. And he took to the podium and he said that his Boy Scout troop wanted to have an American flag that was really special. So they bought one with gold tassels around it. They had it flown above the state capitol, as I recall. They sent it to Washington, where it was flown above the U.S. Capitol. And then they contacted NASA and said, we'd like our flag to go up on the Space Shuttle. I imagine space is at a premium in space, so they're not given to taking souvenirs for every Boy Scout troop, but they took this flag, put it on the Space Shuttle. He said the boys were so proud as they were seated in their classrooms at school watching the shuttle launch, knowing their flag was on board, and then they saw the launch explode. They saw the shuttle explode in the air there. And he said that he contacted NASA about a couple of weeks after the disaster and said, have you found any remnant of our flag? They said no. He said he called about once a week for months asking, have you found anything? They hadn't found anything. And then he said he was reading an article, I think it was a little over half a year later in September, reading about the debris that was associated with the Challenger disaster and what had been found. And in that description it mentioned something about a flag. So he called NASA again. Said, did you find our flag? They said, well, yes, come, we'll make a presentation to you. So NASA and the troop came together, and he said they were presented with a plastic container, and they opened the container, and there was their flag in perfect condition. And he said, that stayed on the flagpole next to Mr. Romney at the end of the table. And I reached over and I grabbed that flag and held it out, and it was as if electricity was running through my arm. As I thought about the men and women in our space program who put themselves in harm's way for discovery, for innovation, for pioneering, for us, living for something bigger than themselves. I think of the single moms who work hard to raise their children and give them dignity and devote themselves to their children. I think of the dad who's got 2 jobs to make sure that he can buy the kind of clothing his kid needs so he won't stand out at school. I think of the kid coming out of high school that says, you know what? Instead of going on to college, I'm gonna enlist in the military, and I want to serve our country. I love those who serve. I appreciate the sacrifice of our men and women in uniform. I can't understand the president who's commander-in-chief cutting our commitment to our military. This is a time for us to have a strong military, not to weaken it. America's military must be so strong, no one would ever think of testing it. I love those words in one of our national hymns. Oh, beautiful, for heroes proved in liberating strife, who more than self their country loved, and mercy more than life. Would our veterans and members of the armed services please raise your hands? Wow. We're a nation of people who give ourselves to something bigger than ourselves, our family, our community, our faith, our country. It's what makes America America, which gives us the vitality to overcome the challenges we have. And now when we face those challenges, we stand on the shoulders of the greatest generation. They brought us a nation that's prosperous and free. And they held a torch aloft for the whole world to see. A torch of freedom and opportunity and hope. They held it high. It's not America's duty to hold up that torch. It's America's honor to hold that torch. But now they're not as many of them as there used to be, and they're not able to hold it as high as they used to be able to. And so it's our turn. We've got to hold on to that torch and lift it for the world. And I commit to you this. When I become president of the United States, I will do everything in my power to strengthen America. I'll do everything in my power to strengthen our values and our homes, to strengthen our economy, to make sure our economy can fund a military second to none. This is a critical time for America. We must let the light of that torch burn bright in our homes, in our communities, in our businesses, throughout the world as our men and women serve. I love this country. I believe in America. This country's coming back thanks to you.